Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mystery Shopping is Dead webinar. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to give the other attendees another minute of benefit to join us. So far, there is about 20 of you, so thanks for joining us. And you can be looking into an action-packed about 45 minutes of a webinar where we will introduce our approach to replace mastery shopping. So more people are joining in, so please be patient with us for another minute so even the late joiners can join us, and we will start right away. As I mentioned before, you can expect something around 45 minutes of content today. Obviously, it's going to be all about a discussion as well. So as you can see, we have a Slido in the left corner. So if you want to, you can scan the QR code right now to access our Q&A session. You will also have a small poll there where you can answer us about how you are working with mystery shopping currently, and feel free to raise any questions you may have. So we're 2 minutes in, and I would say let's start. And thank you again for joining us. We say long live mastery shopping, as we believe that mystery shopping is an outdated technique and a method of measuring customer feedback. And today I am joined with Jan Gabauer, our customer experience expert and lead consultant in Staffino, and also by Marek Kempka, who's a certified customer experience professional who owns and runs company Mark, who's been dealing with market research and customer feedback for the past about 20 years. And my name is Martin. I'm the regional sales manager at Staffino, and I will be facilitating the discussion between these two gentlemen. And today we want to bring a little bit more light about how you can replace mystery shopping and why is it effective. So the webinar content today, we will give you some examples of where mystery shopping is in use, how it's currently used and maybe misused and misunderstood. Then we will give you the origin of the idea that lays behind mastery shopping. You might have some questions in your head about what the hell is mastery shopping, so you will find that out today. We will tell you about the methodology we use at Staffino, and we will also look at mastery shopping as an investment, not a sunk cost, not a wasted expense, but a tool to improve your profitability, to improve your employee motivation, and so forth. Again, I will mention Slido, where you can ask your Q&As. After each section, I will give space and I will read out the questions for Marek and Jan to answer. So feel free to ask anything that might interest you, and let's make this a good discussion. Thank you very much. And without further ado, let's dive into some examples of mystery shopping in use. So Marek, can I ask you if you could give us a little bit of an example of how you perceive mystery shopping? What is your experience with it? And how you came to even talking to us at Staffino about this topic?
Thank you, Martin. As you mentioned, about 2 decades experience in the field, and roughly half of it at the client side, Unilever and the French retailer Jean, and the other half at the agency in Nielsen. And what I did at Jean was a whole program. I've been lucky to carry out the mystery shopper alongside with the customer satisfaction study. So you will see in a bit some tips, some ideas, and case studies from that experience. But I wanted to start with something else. What I often found out that in the office we have a tendency to create extraordinary experiences to delight our customers. Now, I call it a wow moment. So in this particular situation, what you can see, when I've been running a mystery shopper for a beer manufacturer, one of the steps they asked us to evaluate was the 8 steps of serving a draft beer. Not sure if you are familiar with that. I also have been lucky with running a lot of eye tracking research in the pubs and the restaurants. And what I can tell you is that shoppers, the clients, are not really focusing on what the bartender is doing. They focus on his face, on the tabs, on the logos, but very rarely on the whole process. So when we introduce a new procedure or new service, like in this case, I believe that the mystery shopper is the right solution to check the compliance whether the 8 steps of serving the beer is done properly, because shoppers are not going to reflect on that. However, I always say that if we sit too long in the office, we can't see wood for the trees. And but in that case, the question is whether the wow moments are the best way to really attract attention of the shopper, to really delight the customer. And from what we observed quite often in the research in this situation, that they are focusing more on the what is the celebration afterwards, on the discussion and so on. So if you can switch to the next slide, then right, thank you. And the second example is what I mentioned earlier from the French retailer Jean, and for about 4 years I've been running the simultaneously mystery shopper and customer satisfaction studies. The blue line is the what you can see. The blue line is a mystery shopper, and the green customer satisfaction. So the first thing, this is just a snapshot of 1 year average from the very beginning, from the first year. The first thing is that if you look carefully, there is nearly no correlation between these two results, between these two stores. Overall, throughout the 4 years, there had been only one store where the results were consistent. And as you can see, it's the store at the left-hand side, the store number 1, who was always at the mystery shopper and customer satisfaction at the lowest level, the lowest score. Now, the one who was the best performing was quite often the store 19, the store at the right-hand side, especially in the CSAT, customer satisfaction. Now, well, if you can switch the next slide, I wanted to ask you, why do you think the store number 1 was the worst performing? Now, this was the store which had the highest, the best catchment area and the highest traffic in the store. And whenever we tried to improve customer satisfaction, worked on the results from the customer satisfaction mystery shopper, we saw that there are 2 consistent points always mentioned in both. It's customer service employees and out of stocks. Simply, employees were really overworked, and they couldn't find time for the clients. And when another client approached them, they were upset, thinking, okay, now I have another point on my to-do list. So this was a very straight correlation. On the other side, store 19 was a store where there was, actually, this was the lowest revenue, the store with the lowest revenue in the whole chain. So there were no out of stocks, and the employees had multiple times. So the customer satisfaction was pretty much at the higher level. Now, if you can please switch the slide. Now, how these two are connected, employees and the customer satisfaction. On this slide, you can see results of the IQS retail industry benchmark. The survey has been done among 10 retail chains in Poland. On the y-axis, you can see a frequency of how often shoppers were mentioning the given factor, given point, as important to them. On the y-axis, we did analysis of the feature importance with machine learning. So this is actual feedback how the given factor is actually contributing to the score. So what you can see, not surprising, the essentials are there. There must be a right assortment and the right prices. So they were always on the top of the list at any research. However, nice and helpful service, customer service, is the third element of the puzzle, which is as important as two others in building customer satisfaction. Now, I would like to ask you to ask yourself, are employees in your organization well motivated? If you can switch to the next slide, please. Now, I would argue about younger generation. It's not only this study. In general, I've seen multiple surveys, multiple results where younger generation, Gen Z, is basically more demanding. So if you are in the business with younger generation, you are about how you approach them, how you tackle especially difficult situations. Now, getting back to the question I asked, are employees in the organization motivated? I think half of you answered yes. According to ADP Research Institute, this data are from September 2023, about 60 to 80% of the employees are not well motivated. Of course, this depends on the industry. The technology is the highest motivation, but still it's only 40% motivation score. So as you can see, there is a huge gap to fill. And in that context, I'm not sure the mystery shopper would be best fit to motivate employees to verify whether they are complying with the procedures we are implementing. Well, after all, I think that the carrot works better than the staff, and seeing the results from the customer satisfaction is more impactful. Seeing the impact of my activities on the company's result is more impactful than actually being spied. So let's see how we can implement it.
Indeed. And that's a very good point, Marek. And I can already see that this is raising some questions from our attendees today. And actually, we have two questions, and surprisingly, Marek, both are for you. So I'm going to start with saying, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to use the QR code, go to Slido, and ask us anything you think you want an answer for. In the meantime, Marek, could you tell us, do you think that mystery shopping is necessary for feedback collection? Is it a necessary tool in nowadays?
Is it necessary tool? What I've mentioned is that if we do implement some procedure which we believe is important, this is the only solution to verify quite often, because shoppers are not going to provide feedback. Now, is it necessary? If you confirm with your inner or outer loop that this is an important factor to tackle, and this is something you have to close the gap on something, then yes, you may want to run mystery shopper as well to validate, verify whether this point has been collected. However, I believe that quite often, if this is an important factor which came up with your studies as closing the loop, one of the factors you need to close the loop, then it will also show up in the customer feedback studies. So you have to balance between this two.
Thank you, Marek, for the answer. And another question is, or maybe Jano, do you want to add something to it, since I don't want this to be one-sided debate?
Sure, definitely, I would like to. So typically, I'm on the opposite side a little bit. So generally, from my perspective, mystery shopping is definitely more than welcome part of the overall quality monitoring process within the retail, if it's being conducted very properly on a regular base, with the right questions, and definitely if there are like improvements based on the outcomes from the mystery shopping. And another thing, if it's not being used to evaluate the individuals within the retail, so in that case, it could be really useful. On the other hand, I think that is not like a necessary, because you can easily, switch mystery shopping to a really robust CX program, which will deliver all these values easier in great volumes and so on. So, but we'll explain it later, I think, all these aspects. So,
all right. And
So if I
also
can
another
build
question.
on,
Sorry?
it's very difficult. Just building on that is very difficult in the retail to separate individual from the results, because when the results are bad, the store manager's retail is retail is detail. So you have to understand what went wrong. So in that sense, it's difficult to maintain, to keep individuals out of the loop. All right. Thank you.
Thank you guys for the input. And maybe one more question before we move on. And that's, do you agree that mystery shoppers tend to focus more on the flows rather than the overall picture, which can lead to biased results?
Absolutely. Sure.
And Jano?
Mostly, yes. I think that it's working this way, unfortunately.
Yes. Okay, cool. So we got an agreement on that, mystery shopping can definitely bring in some bias. And that's why we basically created mastery shopping, which is independent of opinion of individual person, focusing on large customer volumes. So, Jano, maybe if you could tell us a little bit about the origins of the idea behind mastery shopping. Since you're the godfather of the whole project, you've been there when we've implemented it and we started to cut our teeth in this area. So I think you're in a good position to give us a couple ideas.
Yeah, sure. So it was quite easy. I mean, the idea behind it, why we invented the mastery shopping concept. So really, several years ago, we were discussing with our clients how they have been using the mystery shopping. We are observing the process, how they were working with the results, what kind of data they were gathering. And we really came to conclusions that typically, well, as I said, it could be really useful tool if it's being conducted properly on a regular basis across all the branches. So usually we end up with some observations and knowledge that this mystery shopping is more like a hit or miss approach to conduct some snapshot of the operations, typically after new product is being deployed in operations, or just to check some process behavior and so on. We have seen some examples when even the mystery shopping was identified by the shop assistants early in the phase of the mystery shopping gathering. And we've seen even the examples when the first mystery shopper has been identified in the first branch, and the word that the mystery shopping has started spread across the retail, like literally within the minutes. And the shop assistant started to exchange even the pictures of the mystery shoppers. So they ended up, with some simple role player. So there was like a mystery shopping playing the customer and the shop assistant playing somebody else. What was missing in this nice role play was the customer. I mean, the real customer. So we really start to think about how to make it better, to gather more insights from this footfall which is present at the shops. And when we went through this typically robust, huge mystery shopping questionnaires with dozens of different questions, we realized that they could be really split in different categories, like a process-oriented, shop-related, and the shop assistant related. And we realized that, like many of these questions, the right person to assess the real outcome for this question is typically somebody from the organization, usually retail, I mean, some regional manager or branch manager or some quality specialist. On the other hand, there were like a bunch of the questions which could be really assessed by the customer. I mean, if they are really related to the perception of the customer, so the customer is the right person to answer all these questions. So we really took the questions related to the process, which could be really best assessed by the internal people, and put it in the quality monitoring process, so they could be really assessed through some regular checklist or through some side-by-side monitorings and so on. And we took another portion of the questions, which should be assessed by the real customer. And we created a so-called mastery shopping concept, because even in this case, you will end up with dozens of questions related to the customer. And yeah, typically based on our experience, we know that it's not like it's not great to after each transaction to ask the customer like 20 or 25 questions. It's too long questionnaire. That's why we invented this concept where you have like a main part of each questionnaire, so-called emotional path. This will typically contain like the main CX metrics or the main questions which you would like to ask really each customer. So for example, NPS, whether the upsell attempt was present, or what was the shop assistant approach. And the rest of the questions, which doesn't have such a value for the operations, we split in different categories. And based on that, we created like, it could be created like a couple of flows. It depends from the client, from their needs and the extent of their operations, or the areas which they want to tackle through this mastery shopping concept. And in this way, you are able really to assess the perception of like the whole volume of the customers who are entering the store and conducting some meaningful operation, for example, some purchase. And at the end of the day, you will end up with the huge population or volume of the feedbacks from the customers. Each of these feedback will have the answers for the main metrics and main questions. And some portion of these customers will always answer the other areas which are not so important. So, and that's it. This is the mastery shopping concept. You're on mute, Martin.
Thanks, Jan, for reminding me that I should unmute myself. I think it's one of the most used words on Teams meetings globally. So we've established that, Dr. Max has abandoned mystery shopping. It's no big secret that we're running the mastery shopping program with the second largest retail pharmacy chain in Europe. But I see another question coming up. In which industries do you think it is possible to use mastery shopping? Is it pharma only, or how would you perceive the versatility of the tool?
Generally, we can really recommend this for all retail chains. Definitely, pharmacy is one of the important clients here, where it could be really used to great benefits. On the other hand, we did this for other clients in other verticals as well. So it really depends. But typically, all the utilities, telcos, and so on, so it could be like a targeted group of the clients.
Perfect. So thanks for filling in. So we've established now a couple points on why you maybe also should consider switching from mystery shopping to mastery. Because mystery shopping is really too expensive to conduct regularly. If you want to run mystery shopping on a regular basis, you will end up with higher tens or maybe $100,000s of euros spent a year on the mystery shopping. What you get is a one-person, one data point deal, maybe once in a month, quarterly, depends on how much money you have to spend on it. But it's going to be expensive and relying on individual data points. Also, it can take weeks to complete and deliver the reports from the mystery shoppers, because they have to come back in, they have to process their mystery shopping results. Then the company that's doing the mystery shopping for you has to process the results to give you some comprehensive report. So we are losing weeks from important customer interactions that have happened where the customers might not have been satisfied, by basically running this staged role play instead of focusing on the real customers who come to your store daily and basically utilizing the footfall you already have and you're also paying a considerable amount of money on. And the worst thing is, it's very hard to calculate the return on investment on the mystery shopping, because obviously you get some information, but you cannot correlate it with real business results. The mystery shopper visit will not impact the feeling that your customers have. It will not impact how often they come back to your stores to shop again, or if they ever come back, because maybe the experience was so horrible. They're already shopping at the competitor and you just don't know. So this is exactly why we want to show you what do you get at Staffino if you decide to venture on the journey of mastery shopping, as many retail companies did with us in the past 6-7 years that we've been running this program. So let me start with collecting the feedback on large volumes of data from actual customers. So what we do is we typically target loyalty customers where you are very easy to identify the exact transaction that happened and collect the feedback that the customer has left to this specific transaction. We can request the feedbacks either via email, or it can be an SMS or any modern channels. And then we provide our customers with real-time dashboards where you see the insights based on the level where are you at the organization. So it can be a group level where you see the results for the whole group. It can be individual levels on the region, or it can be going down to the individual employees, the individual pharmacy or pharmacists. So even each employee has access to Staffino and is directly able to see his results and his impact that he's having on the customer experience. But obviously, we're talking about large data points and a lot of data that you need to process. So that's why we use AI to analyze the open text feedback, because that's where the gold is hidden, right? In the verbatims. That's where people tell you the stories, and the stories matter more than the numbers. So what we do is we use the AI to identify both positive and negative drivers of the customer satisfaction. And then we help the companies to understand the quantity and the volumes of the drivers they have, to identify the most positive sentiment influencers and the most negative sentiment influencers. So you can very quickly see and decide what impacts the customer experience, what impacts the customer spend most. Is it the employee behavior? Is it the overall satisfaction? Is it costs? So whatever it might be, you will get the informations in real time, and you have to spend literally 0 time analyzing the data because the AI does it for you. And also, what we do is we use the positive feedback for employee motivation, because as you know, retail is a very tough place to be. And Marek has talked about that at the beginning. You see that 60 to 80% people who work in the front line, who work with customers daily, do not feel motivated. So this is absolutely crazy and horrible numbers that show you that employee motivation is completely lacking in the retail. And this is where we come in, because what we do is we share the positive feedbacks and we make it visible to the employee. So you can imagine how your day looks if somebody comes and shows you the positive feedbacks, shows you the good work you've done on a daily basis, compared to having a mystery shopper come in once in a month where you're waiting stressed to see which of these interactions is going to impact my bonuses, my performance, and so on. This way, you can show that you're consistently good. And if you had one bad moment, that's not going to ruin your career as a frontline employee. So this is why we use employee motivation. This is why we share the positive feedbacks with the employees, because you can see the direct impact it has. And we have measured the impact on the positive motivation of the employee and the longevity they have in their positions. On the other hand, you can also use the negative feedback to identify outliers in the performance. You don't have to make it visible to the employee, but you will immediately know which employees need retraining, coaching, and maybe a good discussion, because it might be a situation in their life that it's causing them to act that way. But you have the information. Again, you have it on large volumes of data and in real time. And we take it even a step further, because everybody has a child in them and everybody likes to play, right? Everybody likes to be a winner. So what we do is we introduce gamification. So not only we have dashboards where the employees can compare their results across several months, they can also see their leaderboards, so they can see who's the best in satisfaction, maybe who's the best in cross-selling and upselling. And we also introduce badges that everybody can win on a monthly, weekly basis that then count towards a yearly competition that you can run across your whole organization, where you can recognize, identify, and promote the heroes that are doing the best job in the front lines. So this is why Staffino is a very impactful tool, and why mastery shopping really does change the way that retail perceives getting feedback. So maybe let's compare expenses before we compare the benefits, because obviously, you might be sitting here thinking like, oh my God, this Martin is telling me mystery shopping is so expensive, but he didn't tell me how much you're going to pay for the mastery shopping. So let's maybe put it into a perspective of a retail company that has got 100 shops per country, so 300 shops overall across 3 countries and about 700 frontline employees. So if we were to run a mystery shopping program on that, you would probably pay something around 50 euros per shop of visit. If you want to have 3 shops visit in a month, you're already arriving at 45,000 euros a month of expenses that now you might be thinking if are well spent, because we've shown you where the pitfalls of running mystery shopping lay. So in a year, you will pay 540,000 euros just for running the mystery shopper. We didn't include any costs of processing the results, consulting them with you, and we all know consultants charge a hefty fine. So when we compare that to Stafino, we're looking at about 40 euros per store per month, about €1 per person per month for the employee engagement, so they get the access to the platform and they can see the results, and up to about 1,000 euros per month for the AI analytics. So if we look on average conversion between 10 to 17%, which we usually see in retail, with about 50% of the loyalty card holders, that gives us about 300 feedbacks per shop per month. So the average cost is something under 14,000 euros. So you can already see a huge cost saving here. And if we compare that, you can save on average about 70% of the costs by running mastery shopping instead of mystery shopping, while you will benefit from a lot of things that Jano is going to talk about in a second. And we want to show you also the proof of why this works and how you can get the return on investment. But also, I see that there is more questions popping up. So again, I urge you to add more questions if you're interested. If you want to ask our experts something, or if you want to just say, how are you? Feel free to drop it in Slido. And maybe a question for both of you, Marek, Jano. How do employees perceive mastery shopping? Like, do they feel monitored? Are they usually open to customer feedback? What is your experience if you compare mystery shopping feedback given to employee to customer feedback given to employee?
So maybe I will start and generally, yeah, they like it because compared to the mystery shopping, this is like real customers leaving many feedbacks on their behavior, on their performance, and typically if they are allowed to leave the verbatim as well, really related to the performance of the shop assistant. So the shop assistant at the end of the day will see that he or she is getting like a huge volume of positiveness, of positive feedbacks from the customers. And this is really helping to motivate the shop assistant to perform even better. That's the employee recognition. So that's like a true power of gathering like direct feedback from the real customer related or dedicated to the performance of shop assistant. So to answer it shortly, definitely they are not afraid and they really like it. And even if they will get from time to time the negative feedback, so it's quite easy to really extract from this feedback whether it was related to the poor performance of the shop assistant or to the process. So based on that, they can even see the areas if they should improve in some and how they can improve. So definitely it's working this way.
Cool. Thank you, Jano. Marek, anything to add from your end?
I can echo Jan. From my experience, the always customer voice calls were well perceived by the staff, even if it was a negative feedback. You can work upon that, and that reminds me of smile cards I've seen in Japan. If you go to a matcha experience store, you get a card at the entrance with the employee faces, and you can give the card of yours, the one you receive, to the employee whose smile made your day, and then the employees are being recognized based on the feedback. So that's a great way of motivating. I see, Martin, that you also have this gamification included in the mastery shopping. So fantastic. I'm getting a note that my mic might be broken. Can you hear me well?
Yes, Marek, it's the little bit of an issue we've discussed before. So unfortunately, sometimes hardware gives up and you cannot do really much about it.
Sorry
but if you didn't understand anything Marek is saying, feel free to ask the question in the Slido and we will be more than happy to bring it up and we'll have a more discussion. Cool. And there's also one more question. I think maybe you can take this one since you've been working with the AI quite intensively in the past year or so since it's had its uptake. Do you think it's possible to use AI first of all to interpret the mystery shopping data? What do you think?
Well, so definitely AI could be used to process any kind of analytical data, and doesn't matter if it's like being in structured way, but we know that the real magic of AI is in assorting or analyzing the like a free text data. So for example, if you have many notes taken by the mystery shoppers in these questionnaires, so definitely AI could really help you to read notes, to assort it, and to take out some nice recommendations. On the other hand, it's really like far better to use this AI for mastery shopping, because in that case you are really addressing, analyzing like a huge amount of real customer insights, and in this case it's really proving the value and the magic based on that. So, but definitely it could be used even for mystery shopping results.
Right, Diano. Thank you very much for the question and for the answers. And I see that there is another question from Valentina. So Valentina, thank you very much for that. And actually, it's a twofold question, and I think I can take this one. So which device do we use to ask the questions to the customers if they're collaborating with an offline shop? So there is several options we can run this. One is using a POS terminal. That means that you have, for example, a tablet placed in your shop where the customers can punch in the feedback. But even better, if you have a loyalty program, we can request the feedback directly from your customer. So it can come to his mobile phone, either as an SMS, email, or we can even do an in-app notification. So he gets a pop-up from his application, for example, if you have a loyalty app on the phone of your customers. And then the second question is, usually how long does a mastery shopping campaign with Stafino last? So, Jano, do you want to take this one?
Sure, definitely. But I don't see the question.
It's actually in the chat. So how long does usually a mastery shopping campaign last?
Well, so from our experience, the best way how to conduct it, it's on ongoing base. So in that case, you can really track the development of the quality of the process, of the quality of the people within the organization. So I don't think that this is the right tool to do it like once a while, or just to conduct like a snapshot of the operations, because from our experience, most of the real drivers of customer satisfaction, which are definitely driving even the commercial results of the retail, for example. So this should be addressed on an ongoing basis, so you have like a control over it. So typically, it's when you take into account, for example, the behavior of the sales assistant. So somebody could have like a bad days, bad time in their lives, and it's really it's beneficial for organization to know to identify this as soon as possible. So in that case, you can really help the shop assistants really to improve their performance and to make sure that they will not impact the relationship with your customers. So definitely, from my perspective, we are recommending to do it like to conduct on ongoing basis.
Indeed, we basically advocate for ongoing voice of customer programs, which will bring you long-term benefits as opposed to one-off surveys where again you're acting on the results late and you cannot really see if the impact of the changes you did has actually taken place. So if you change something and you don't continuously measure, there is very little chance that you will catch the impact in like 3, 4, 6 months of time if you're going to measure again. That's why we say it's really good to measure regularly. And that also brings us to why mastery shopping is an investment and not a wasted expense. It's not a sunk cost because you're not just expensing money out for a one-off program that will give you some results, but will not give you any option to calculate the ROI. And as we mentioned before, it's a one person, one data point kind of deal. So Jano, can you take us through some of the interesting findings that we had in the past years with mastery shipping, please?
Yeah, definitely. For a beginning, let's align ourselves on one fact. The upsell or cross-sell attempt during the purchase or sales conversation in a shop definitely drives the customer experience. That's really important, and it has been proven by data. And based on that, we can really estimate a lot of impacts which this correlation has on your business. So when we start, for example, with the typical upsell attempt, which is really it's almost impossible to measure through some regular sales performance data measurements. However, you can always ask the customer what's the perception of the customer, whether there was like a cross-sell or upsell attempt, whether the shop assistant has offered the customer some interesting products. And based on that, we can really see that if this is true, so if the shop assistant is really offering some interesting products to the customers, so we can see that their satisfaction, I mean the customer satisfaction with the pharmacist approach is really increasing, and you can see the huge difference between the overall satisfaction with the pharmacist approach in the case, if there was like the offer of additional product. Don't forget that this is like a really important fact to communicate even to some shop assistants, because some of them are somehow reluctant to offer to do the cross-sell or upsell, because they usually are claiming that the customers are not satisfied if they are pushing some products to them and so on. On the other hand, we know from our own experience that there is like a, the most important asset of each customer in these days is the time. So nobody has enough time to go through all the products offer, to check whether the shop has something new in their portfolio and so on. And typically, if they are spending the time already to do the purchase in the store or in the shop, so they are really expecting that this shop assistant will act as a advisor as well. So that's why these days, definitely, we can confirm that any cross-sell or upsell attempt conducted properly will help to increase the satisfaction of the customer with the approach of the employee, with the overall satisfaction with the visit, and definitely it's influencing and impacting the loyalty or NPS as well. When we are talking about this upsell attempt, so definitely on the next slide you can really see that there is like a simple mathematic, more upsell attempts you will do, so you will reach better sales success ratio within the store, and definitely you will drive the revenues through these upsell attempts. So in this case, you will really easy get a lot of insights. What's the upsell attempt ratio is in your stores. You can contact really easily based on the huge volume of feedbacks, the variation analysis among the stores, among the individual sellers, and based on that, you can really easily connect this data to the, for example, some average basket value or other sales performance metrics, and you will realize that these upsell attempts definitely are driving the incremental revenues which you can gather from the commercial footfall which is at disposal in your shop. So definitely this is working. It's like a win-win situation for both the customer and the organization as such. As I mentioned previously, through the upsell, we are driving the overall satisfaction, and through the overall satisfaction with the employee or with the visit. So we are driving definitely the loyalty of the customer. On next slide, you can really
maybe can I just ask you one question?
Yeah, sure.
When I see this whopping 45 to 50% of people saying that they haven't been offered any product, to me, it seems like a area for improvement as well, right? That companies can focus on, thanks to finding out how many people really do upsell.
Yeah, definitely. Let's be fair in this, because from the beginning you will have to look on the variation, because most probably there will be like a part of the employees who are not doing the upsell as they should do. So you will be able to assess and minimize the variation among the employees and increase the results. That's the first, like obvious thing what you can do with the results. On the other hand, there will be still some other aspects external, for example, which can influence the performance of the upsell in an organization. So, for example, if you have some stores when there is during the day like a huge queue of the customers and the shop assistants doesn't have enough time to provide this upsell or care to the customer, ask them about their needs and really uh, to recommend them some interesting products. So in that case, you will be losing this opportunity to increase the revenue gathered from the commercial food for disposal. So again, there could be like many aspects, but this could be assessed by the mastery shopping, and based on that, you can really prepare like actions for improvements. For example, to recalculate how many stuff could be still viable to keep in the store and to still keep it profitable and so on. So it's like almost unlimited options how to improve in this case.
I understand, and thanks for diving a little deeper on that. You were talking about the loyalty and the effect of employee approach on the loyalty. So should we get back to that?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Because as we said, so especially if you have the some base of the returning customers who are conducting the purchases in your stores on a regular basis. So it's really important for you to track, to measure the loyalty of the customers. And the loyalty is being impacted, yeah, by the satisfaction with the visit, by the prices, by the approach of the shop assistants, and definitely by the upsell attempts or recommendations which your sellers are giving to the customers. Why this is important to keep the loyalty? Because we have proven with many clients on huge amount of data that the loyal customer is conducting more purchases more often with the higher value. So in average with the higher basket value, purchase value, and so on. And this is like really important to understand why do we have to measure this NPS, the loyalty, and how we can benefit out of it. So, and I think that every robust customer experience program in a retail should have these simple calculations of the impacts, how the customer experience is really driving the incremental revenues and the volume of the customers who are conducting the purchases within your retail. So I think that is it.
Understand. Thanks, Jano. And that also leads to another question we have here, which is regarding the shoppers, the dear customers of ours, because they're also busy people. So, all they want to do is get their shopping done, check out, and, forget about it. So how should we encourage the shoppers to share their feedback? Do we have any mechanisms for that?
We are still living in these days when we can see that the customers don't have any issue to leave the feedback and share with their experience. Doesn't matter if we are talking about the satisfied customers or dissatisfied customers. So on the other hand, yeah, in a future or with the more often the shopper is conducting the purchase in the same store, so the volume of the feedbacks could slowly decreasing. Anyhow, we have many opportunities how to increase this conversion and to gather the enough feedbacks from the customers. At the end of the day, you can still put there some incentives, so we can see that really European customers really like the incentives, and you can even double or triple the size of the feedbacks just when you will put there some small incentive, some bonus, or some gift card.
Cool. Thank you very much, Jano. And that wraps up the questions for now, but feel free to scan the QR code and drop some few more before we wrap up. We will still leave some space to answer. And what we want to leave you with is maybe just an appeal or, a comment on what we would recommend from, the 6 and more years of experience we've been doing this. And that's, let's take action. Stop just measuring for the measuring. really, take action, as it's more impactful than the measurement. Make sure that you engage your employees. Make sure you evaluate the results daily. Make sure you understand the customer needs on a daily basis. Make it a part of your daily lives, and your customers will notice that you're becoming customer-centric and will also focus more on working with you than looking elsewhere for the competitors.
And definitely, it's really important to always connect the customer experience program to the financial performance of the company. So if you will identify it and show the relation between the customer experience performance and the revenues and costs, and share it within your organization, so the customer experience program will be really loved and tracked as it should be through the company.
And also recognized and understood by your C-level, who obviously are all about, correlating business results with any initiative you have. Marek, maybe the last words from your side before we wrap up.
What I've already mentioned, employees' motivation is of key importance to make sure you are building the customer-centric culture. And if they see the direct impact of their actions on customer satisfaction, on quotes, it's gonna work much better than being observed, and that's what we've seen at Zhao quite often. So I encourage you to use the voice of the customer simply.
Great.
Thank you.
So thanks everybody for being a great audience. Thanks for the amount of questions you asked. They were spot on. And I will leave you with one more thing. If you are considering improving your mystery shopping program, if you're considering maybe relying on more than just one data point, feel free to reach out to us. You will also get the recording of the webinar afterwards. And since we're all customer experience freaks, make sure to answer our survey on how we did today. If you liked it, what you would change, what you would improve. Thank you very much. I'm Martin. Today with me was Gabauer and Marek Kempka. And thanks to everybody for attending the webinar today. Long live Mastery Shopping.